Yeah, both of them. Okay, why you start freediving? Which is the reason?
It's good for my mind. Just calm down, feel the water.
Right.
New
No
skills.
noise.
No
New
noise.
skills.
Sorry?
New skills.
Yeah.
I had to collect snails, so I just kept
You,
going.
it's a need. It become a need. Great. I tell you something about my history. I'm Italian. I'm 47-year-old, and I was not a free diver. I was a basketball player, and I grew up playing basketball. But then, unfortunately, I broke my ankles several times. I broke my hand. So my dream was to become a professional basketball player, but unfortunately I can't. And I was in high school, but so in this moment I understood that my dream was to live doing teaching sports. Okay, I was a swimmer, I was a basketball player, but in my family the sport was not something serious. So my parents thought that we practice sport not because we can do this as a job, but simply because it's helpful for our health and it is good. They didn't help me so much in practicing sports. Also, if it was my dream. So I did the standard European things that students usually do. So I went to the high school, I went to the university, and I study optometry, like my dad. I was an optometrist, and at the age of 27, I was working. Hello. At the age of 27, I was working in an hospital, working for the surgery for myopia and with the LASIK and the PRK surgery. And one day I was in front of the mirror preparing to go to the office, to the hospital. I was well dressed with short haircut, really the typical European good boy. And I thought, this is not my life. And what I started to do, I started to have a double life. From Monday to Friday, I was doing the optometrist, and then on the Friday night, I was going on a boat, because I was still also a student, and I was cooking, I was doing the diving guide, the dive master, I was doing the waiter on this boat just to pay all the license in free diving, in scuba diving, my driving license on the boat. So to try to follow my dream and to grow up with another identity, so my natural identity. So finally in 2002, I became a freediving instructor. I was 27, and I decided to try to jump in this kind of life. And I went to my father and I told him, I'm going to sell my society, I will leave everything, and I will go to live to Egypt for $500 per month. And my dad looked at me and he said, why you don't take drugs like everyone and you still continue your life? And I told him, no, I want to try. I will try to do this to follow my dream. So I put all my energy in trying to develop him what was a dream. And when I was in Sharm el-Sheikh in 2003, I was like Sophie now in Seychelles. I think you are the first freediving instructor here in
Yeah.
Seychelles. Okay, there I was the only freediver instructor in a huge scuba diving community. So I was starting to scuba diving for work, but in the morning, in the afternoon I was scuba diving, and in the morning I was trying to teach freediving, sometimes for free, to some friends. So scuba divers start to see that there was some crazy boy without tanks on the back that was swimming close to them, to 20, 25, 30 meters. And I started this way. So some scuba divers started to ask about freediving and something about breathing techniques, because also technical scuba divers find really useful the breathing techniques that we use for free diving, because it's really helpful for narcosis or nitrogen sickness, so it's really helpful. So, and I started to grow up teaching the freediving. And after a few years, I decided to open my own center, and the community was growing up. So looking at this, I really feel home, because it looks a lot what I was doing 20 years ago. So that means that I have a little bit experience, but mostly that I'm old. And I was not a good free diver. I had really big troubles in the equalization. I was still not so confident in the water, but my passion was extremely strong, so I was spending hours and hours and hours in the water. But at the beginning of this experience, I was really focused on depth, so to reach a new depth, to improve. So I was enjoying only if my watch was telling me that I was going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've been stuck to 30 to 38, 39 meters for several months, maybe close to 1 year. And at this point, I discovered that I was not enjoying anymore the free diving, because I was thinking only about the performance. So what I decided to do, I removed my watch, and I spent 1 year free diving without any watch. And after 1 year, I was extremely aware about myself in the water, because I was not looking for something, but I was just listening what was happening to me. The heart rate, the equalization, and every evening I was writing on my book all the feeling, all the experience, all the exercise I was trying. And after 1 year, I started to use again the watch, but I was already aware about where I was diving, and I discovered that I was able to free dive without any problem between 45 and 55 meters without any problems. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to try to start to compete. I want to try to become an athlete. So in 2007, I take part to my first World Championship, and in 2007 I did my first Italian record in Costanzo-Amalfi. So I went to 55 meters. And in this moment, I start to be an athlete, and I've been in 2009 the first Italian that reached the depth of 100 meters with the monofin. And in this moment, what happened was that the record gave me visibility in the freediving community in Europe. So I started to teach my kind of way to lead the freediving. That was not about performances, but just about coordination, awareness, and a great love about freediving. Because when you have really strong motivation and really great love, like Sophia, I like very much her way to practice freediving, her way to talk about freediving, because I can see her eyes that are shining, and I said, wow, I recognize this, and I'm sure that she will succeed here in Seychelles, because she really have really strong energy for this. And in 2008-9, I create Moving Limits. That is my school.
I have a new bikini of Moving Limits.
She became directly Moving Limits. With the idea, I was trying to find my brand, and the guys that was helping me in trying to find the logo and the name, he said, just me behind limits. And I said, I don't like behind limits, because to go behind limits means that you go somewhere where you lose control, and this is the place when you can have injuries. What I felt during the previous year was that every time I was going slowly closer and closer and closer to my limits, I was becoming more aware, and the limits were moving. So the limits are not something that as soon you reach, then you pass the limits. No, because the limits always move. So the idea, it was something like an improvement that never end. So that's why we have drops and the infinitive logo in Moving Limits. And this was my idea of brand, my idea of school. Now is 20 years that we teach freediving, and sometimes we use freedivings just to teach other people how to improve theirself and how to feel their body, how to control anxiety, how to control if they are close to panic, how to breathe. Simply because teaching, very often what's happened to the students that we are working with, at the end of the freediving course, they usually told us that they get mad and they enjoy a lot all the breathing techniques, all the techniques that help them to learn how to feel better in the water. But as soon you learn how to breathe, and you learn how to use this technique to go in the water, when you go back home, you will use this technique because you learn how to breathe. So you change your way to breathe, and your lifestyle will change. We have many students that tell us that they are less stressed, they do not have anxiety anymore, they feel calm, they feel well, they feel better. So that means that freediving is not only an amazing discipline, it is great when you are in the water, but is extremely helpful also outside of water. So when you go back home with your family, with your friends, with your teammates, and that's what I love of freediving, because finally I start freediving as a sport, but it become my lifestyle. So I'm not talking about my work, is not a work, it's a kind of vocation. Is it correct?
Yeah.
So I just follow my own nature. Okay, I have some friend that wrote me on Instagram, hey, we saw that you are doing something in Seychelles, you are going to organize something, you have a speech tonight. You never stop to work, you always work, always, also if you are on vacation. And finally I said, yes, but I'm not working. I'm just talking about what I love. And I'm really happy to share with all of you this, because every time I can share this passion with someone that I don't know at all, anyway, I find a way to feel home almost everywhere. So big thanks to this big blue creator that is the sea, because it creates a connection that create these moments that are really magic.
Thank you very much.
And that's all. If you have any question, if you want to know something more about, I don't know, freediving or some techniques, or I don't know.
I was going to ask, I know that dry land training is really important, but could you kind of expand on how important it is to be able to kind of move your limits within the water?
The dry training is extremely important for two different things, because usually freedivers are not so lucky how like you are. So that means that the recreational freediver usually does not live close to the sea. So they usually train or go to the sea for 15 or 30 days per year. So there is no discipline where you can improve just the training 15 or 30 days per year. You are really lucky. I think if you want, maybe you can go in the water almost every day, and you have warm water. In Italy, in this moment, the water is 15 degrees. Okay, we have friends that pre-dive in the lake, dark and 9 degrees water. I neither drink 9 degrees water. It's too cold. So dry training is extremely helpful, because you can practice dry training almost every day. Okay, it's not important because sometimes, you know, you got a passion and you put all your energy in this passion. So you start 2 hours every day, but finally it's tiring. So it's much better to train a little bit almost every day. I mean, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes. But in this way you create automatism and adaptation of your body, of your rib cage, of your lungs. You get used to hold your breath, or just maybe we teach also equalization, so the coordination about the equalization to improve the equalization. So the dry sessions are extremely helpful. And usually it's also very good to train with dry session before to go on vacation, or before to go to have a sea session, because also, you know, here you are lucky, the water is warm. When we are in cold water, we cannot find relaxation in the water, because if you do not move, if you do not swim, if you just lay in the water, breathing slowly and deep and doing all the exercise, after 10 minutes you are freezing. So your dives are fucked up. So you have to find relaxation out of water, and sometimes your training session in the water is just 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So it's extremely helpful to find the right condition out of water, and then to bring this condition directly in the water.
I was wondering, between Marfil and Deep Frenzel, I know that how are you supposed to pick which one is right for you?
Okay, mouthfeel is the wrong name
Okay.
to call the Frenzel-Fatta technique. Okay, so mouthfeel is a Frenzel technique. Okay, so what we do with the mouthfeel is only the moment when we feel the mouth full of air. So the mouthfeel is the air transition from the lungs to the mouth. And usually we do the mouthfeel using an expiratory effort. So charging the oropharynx full of air. This is the mouthfeel. The second part is the Frenzel technique. So we compress the air that we have in the oropharynx in a different way from the instinctive Frenzel. So the free divers that usually equalize instinctively push the air just pushing by the tongue. So the tongue moves as a piston in the mouth and it pushes the air into the eustachian tube. Okay, so Eric Fatta, that is a Canadian freediver, French-Canadian, he understood that we can push the air to the middle ear, not only pushing by the tongue, but using all the oral cavity to push the air. Because imagine that, how do we push the air? Just changing the volume, okay? Because if we reduce the volume, we increase the pressure into the oropharynx and we can push the air in the middle ear. With the tongue, we push with the tongue like a piston, okay? But we can change the volume of our mouth with other two structures, with the jaw, opening and closing the jaw, or with cheeks. Okay, so what Eric Fatta create is a full compression using the jaw, the cheeks, and the tongue. So something like this. In this way, you can store much more air in your mouth, and you just use this amount of air for the equalization. Please.
Why did you stop competing?
Because I feel a teacher. And I enjoy a lot teaching. And every time I see someone improving, or every time I see someone that is surface from the water, and he have his eyes that are smiling, that are shining, I feel that I did something good. And the pleasure that I have in doing this is almost the same when I compete. And I started to compete that I was 32, so I was not so young. I started to compete because I was teaching and competing. And I think that we cannot do extremely well two things in the same time. You have to do a choice, okay? And then I have also to grow up my kids. So unfortunately, the free diving is not a discipline where the sponsors are extremely good. So I was not earning enough money to grow up my kids. So when I started with the school, I saw that it was good. I saw that I can work doing this, and I love to do this. And and there was another thing that happened to me when I was competing. One day I was diving already around 70-80 meters, so I was close to the. I was preparing an Italian record, and I discovered a technique to shift air and to equalize. That was helping me to go deeper without any effort, with less effort. Okay, so I start to share this technique with all the other athletes and with all my students. And one day, an Italian champion, a world champion, phoned me, and he was pissed off. He told me, why you are teaching this? Because this is amazing, it works, and it can help so many other free divers. Yes, but one day somebody will beat you. And I told him, yes, but I'm not interested in winning if I know something that the other one do not know. I want to compete with the same tool, with the same knowledge, with the same skills. That means that I'm really strong. And he told me, okay, you will see that you will fail really soon because you are telling everyone our secrets. And in this moment, I realized that I think to be a good teacher because I share everything I know. I share all my knowledge, all my experience. I'm not jealous. And when I see now, I'm working with Alice Modolo, I'm working with equalization with Alessio Zecchini, I'm working with Vincenzo Ferri, and I help them in improving. And someone of them is much stronger than me. And I'm really proud of this because when you give someone tools and they can become stronger than you,